Hello everyone, welcome back to the Blockman editor tutorial. In these videos, we will give you a complete introduction to the Blockman editor. In this video, we will learn about the common nodes, related to teams in the action nodes. There are 4 team nodes in the action nodes, which are add buff to team, remove teams buff, set entities team, and set team name. The add buff to team node is used to add buff to the team. The remove teams buff node is used to remove certain types of buff from all entities in the team. The set entities team node is used to set which team the entity belongs to. The set team name node is used to change the name of the team with a specified team ID. The team ID is a unique identifier for the team that we set when we add the team, and it cannot be repeated. Next, we implement an example using the team nodes. The example effects are, if a player entity touches the white part, it adds an acceleration buff to the entity's team. If the entity touches the blue part, then it will remove the team's acceleration buff. If the entity touches the red part, set that entity as a member of Team ID 2. Enter the editor and prepare an acceleration buff, and 3 different colored parts. Then open the game settings interface, and add 2 teams in the team option. It should be noted here to check the automatic team matching. Now let's implement the logic of the example case. First, open the trigger edit interface for the white part, and create the when the part is touched by an entity trigger node. Then drag the execution port behind the action node, and select add buff to team under team. Drag the execution port of the team ID parameter, and select obtain entities team under team. The entity parameter in the obtain entities team node is set to the entity which touches the part under current trigger parameters. The buff parameter is set to the acceleration buff we have prepared in advance. Uncheck the limit duration of the buff parameter. This completes the logic for adding the buff to the team. Now let's implement the logic for removing the team's buff. Go back to the editor, open the trigger edit interface for the blue part, and create the when the part is touched by an entity trigger node. Then drag the execution port behind the action node. You can use the remove teams buff under team to remove the buff. You can also remove buff in another way, by selecting remove buff by types under entity. The entity parameter is set to the entity which touches the part under current trigger parameters. Check the team parameter, so that it can remove the buff from all entities in the entity's team. The buff parameter is set to the acceleration buff, which we want to remove. Finally, let's implement the logic to set the entity to become a member with Team ID 2 after touching the red part. Open the trigger edit interface for the red part, and create the when the part is touched by an entity trigger node. Then drag the execution port behind the action node, and select set entities team under team. The entity parameter is set to the entity which touches the part of the current trigger parameters. Fill the team parameter with 2. Here the 2 is the team ID. Note that if there is no team with the team ID 2, then a team will be created automatically. To make it more obvious which team the entity belongs to, we also need to add the logic to display the team name. This part of the logic goes like this. Go back to the editor, set it to let 3 players into the game, then click run. As you can see, when the player entity touches the white part, both the player entity and the team members have the acceleration buff. If they touch the blue part and the acceleration buff is removed. Please remember for the team symbol here, the red team now has 2 members and the orange team has 1 member. When the player entity touches the red part, the name of the team which the player entity belongs to changes, from Team 1 to Team 2. You can also see from the team symbol above that, the red team has lost 1 member, while the orange team has gained 1 member. That's all for this video. We hope it can help you on your way to a great creator. If you want to know more about the editor, you can comment below the video or post on the official forum. See you in the next video.